Welcome everybody to a new episode of New Waylie. We will continue working on this apartment complex that we started last episode, but first we will be doing something with the house that we last built, last individual house, which is what you're seeing on screen now. The reason we're working on this is because I had said before that I did plan on modifying this a little bit. I mean, it is a vanilla asset, and although I like it, I did still want to do something with it to futurize it a little bit.
To attain perfection.
So, although I do plan on modifying the model a little bit in the sense of maybe adding an extension or something, I want to start off with at least doing something interesting with the exterior here. And I'm not planning on saying much more than interesting, because the whole point is to leave things kind of mysterious. Like, I myself don't really know what these things are, but I just kind of had this idea that this person is the opposite of that one that lives in the first house we saw, right? The first house was obviously fancy or quote-unquote futuristic, but the backyard, its patio and all that, were more rustic and simple. These guys are the opposite. I mean, they don't care too much about their backyard, which you can see, which is proven by this unkempt area here to the right. And their design of the house is fairly simple, but it's definitely upgraded with weird technology. So I got this idea of kind of like Borgifying it, which is the explanation for the supposed title of this episode and all that.
Borg. Sounds Swedish.
Yeah, just add these weird dark green kind of elements to it and just make it look like they're part of some sort of system. It could be something used internally, or it could be part of security. Who knows? It actually could be a multi-purpose kind of thing, but it's just something that has to exist in a few different areas around the house. Although I did also decide to add it a little bit on the bottom here, just to kind of, not exactly round it out, but just to make it look a little bit more than just these random pieces of molding or decoration or whatever. Make it look as also a little bit part of the structure. So after that, we finally came back to the apartment complex where we're working on the third level. Technically, where we started the third level, well, I don't know if I should say technically. Technically, we started a third level the last time, with the stairs that you're seeing here, the pathway that goes up to the condos, the double condo that we last built. But now we're doing the actual apartments that are really the core of this whole apartment complex. But I did want to change it up a little bit, and it wasn't going to be any more just like rows and rows of houses. Because as we go up, not only are we going up in the quality of the house itself, but also the area around it. So the front patios, the entrances are going to be a little fancier. There might be more spacing between the houses as well, so it's not actual row houses. And that's what we're doing here. Again, a lot of this is improvisational. So as I put the glass down, I really had no idea what I was going to do. And then just I got this random idea as I was popping the second one. I was like, well, how about we turn this 90 degrees? And again, just kind of make things a little more interesting. But we have that pathway already, so we're going to have to modify the house a little bit to make it actually fit in our space. I didn't think this was going to be too bad, except that as I take a look, soon you'll see it, I take a look at this side of the house, and somehow it glitched up. I don't know if I didn't grab all the nodes or something, but it's like some panels or whatever didn't fold inwards the same way. So I copied it out, moved it out here. Really the point is just to get that pristine side panel once more and just put it back in place. It would be changing the design a little bit, but that's fine. We were already doing that after all. So a lot of this is really just fixing this up and using the opportunity to customize the house a little bit more, right? So not just covering up the style, but see, like here I decided to actually make it kind of like this wavy, I don't know if I should say wavy, but jaggedy kind of side. But I still had some issues with, again, like a panel or something that was separated from the rooftop or whatever. So, like, basically, if at certain angles, you would be able to see through the model. That's what was going on. And at that point, I don't know if it was really much work or anything, but I just decided to bring back this same element that we just used in that house. These Borgified elements here, the Borg elements. After all, wait, did I put this anywhere else first? I don't think so. It might come up soon, though. But maybe with that house, I just got this idea that this random sort of texture or pillar or whatever might be a normal thing around residential areas. So again, a mysterious thing, but you know, maybe it has something to do with like some sort of network access, or maybe even a safety feature. Could even be some kind of delivery of materials or information, or who knows what, you know. But I decided to try to make it a common element among residential areas. So I'll try to be using that once in a while. If not in an obvious way like the Borgified house, then... Why am I saying Borgified? That's funny. I should be saying assimilated, right? The assimilated house that we're seeing right there. So either assimilated or just more subtle in certain places. Now, as I was trying to detail this, I found that I had these really tall trees, which I might have intentionally subscribed to right before this. Because I love how they're so tall without any leaves until like the very tops. So they're perfect for these kind of areas where I'm stacking levels and levels of housing, because these trees can be sort of like a multi-level feature, you know. So it's a tree that might start at the very bottom, but will reach to the third level. Yeah, to the third level, if not higher. I mean, this tree looks like it goes up 4 stories basically. Sorry, no, I should say 4 levels, because the houses themselves are like 2 stories or something like that. So these trees are really, really tall. And then as part of customizing, again, I don't know how I came up with this idea, but just wanted to get kind of like a pillar shape thing outside of here. Actually, that might have been the idea, that I want to have a pillar for the next level. And not just completely resting on the houses. This is mostly a stylistic choice. Not that I thought was necessary or whatever, but I thought it would be pretty cool to do that. Now we're going back to the glass area and the tops of these apartments, just kind of setting these paths down. These paths, by the way, are called... they're a little confusing. I think it's pavement... it sounds kind of simple, like pavement path or whatever, but whenever I search it and find it, I actually type flex. Because either the subtitle or definitely in the description, if not also like the icon, it says flexible pavement path. And it's actually the normal pavement path under network extensions too, but without the props. So you see it's a very plain road. It's really just the path itself. It's got some thickness, which is nice, but it doesn't have any lights or railings or anything like that. However, they don't connect with normal paths because it's the network extensions ones, which are really like, oh yeah, they're zonable paths. So they're kind of like roads. So they don't connect to these normal paths, which is what this Hong Kong pedestrian covered path is based on. Or sorry, not just, it's what it is. Now, I don't know if it's actually going to be functional or not, but at least I just decided to kind of like try to line things up so that they look good. And I would hope that if pedestrians do manage to walk in these areas, they'll just seamlessly, you know, cross the path. So we'll see about that. Now, this is, you can see it on there. I can't read it from my preview here in Premiere, but it's a fairly recent upload to the workshop. Really nice tiles. When I first saw it, I didn't think it was going to be useful, but I think it's really nice in areas like this. More like a, kind of like a patio thing or pedestrian path. I think it's a really cool look because the path isn't really, the main path you're seeing in front there isn't really meant for vehicles, but you still have a sort of sidewalk thing with the tiled path I put down. So yeah, so just the same way you have a road and a sidewalk, here I have a pedestrian path and the sidewalk, I guess. The first segment of the flexible path that I had put down was actually going into the entrance of this 90-degree turned house. I most likely change that to an invisible path now because I decided I like the glass. I thought it would be really cool just that you would have a glass entrance. So as you're coming in and out of the house, you can just look down and see whatever's down there. I don't know. But so I made that invisible and then just started plopping these bushes around. I put the planters first, as you saw, and then put the bushes around. Now here I had a little bit of adjustment. I'm not really sure why. I had some sort of height differential, and for some reason apparently I decided it wasn't something I could easily fix, and I just ended up, yeah, like you see, did I bring down? No, I guess I did level it out. I was so sure I had left it sloped or something, but I guess I figured it out. And that was the end of the stream, so in a little bit we're going to get a nice final look of what we built so far. Of course, what we built so far is only 2 houses of the 3rd level, so we're going to keep moving toward the right a little bit. But first, we're gonna have to take a little quick tour of what we built so far, particularly because I did a little bit of work off stream. So here's the staircase up from the ground level, and that path at the very back, remember where we had stairs. This is what it looks like now that we've added the other house. I think it's really cool. We get this little alleyway, and I think it's a really interesting look because we knew that all this is going to be compact, and so having like an alleyway like that is really nice because you could get a picture there, and it's just, that part's technically finished. Like there's nothing else to do there. It's already all closed up, so it's really cool to see that. Okay, this part was, I don't know how this happened, I didn't notice, but the pattern of that does stretch a little bit, so it's a little tricky. You need to make the segments the right length if you want it to line up with another segment. Now here I am adding one of the other houses now, and I at first considered just stretching the house back into the wall. Sorry, into the rock. I did want this house to look like it goes into the rocks, and thus you don't really know how big it actually is. It could be a mansion technically, but I thought it was better to just copy another one and just kind of merge them like this, because not only am I kind of saving myself a little bit of work, not by, you know, not messing with the texture, stretching anything, but you see the side is kind of bland because these are meant to be row houses. So if I do this instead, I can use some of the more interesting front features and put them on the side. So that gives us a lot more reason why this house in particular is here with a different design, and will just fit better with also the space we will detail between it and the next house. Even so, because I guess still had to mess with nodes, so I still had a few areas where things were a little glitchy, and I had to fix that right there. Then came the surfacing, because maybe it is kind of low quality, the roof there. I mean, the grass part definitely is. So for whatever reason, I already knew that all of this had to be covered up, so I got some of that work done right there. And then just copy it 2 times is what it's going to be. Although I do move the first one a little bit because I decide that I do like that sort of side yard in between the houses, so I might as well make it all even, and you know, have the 3 houses just kind of have the same amount of real estate, I guess you could say. So we're putting in these ploppable grass pieces to get that done, although because it is a weird L shape in the back, and I was using we were showing the fronts of house models exposed here. It's kind of cool though, because it means that we have stairs leading out from the back of the houses into maybe like a mini patio or something that they might have back there. Just kind of a nice private area back there. So that's what I'm showing here by walling this up a little bit and adding the stairs, so that again it looks like there's a tiny patio back there, just hidden away from everything, just really private. But these still do have a way out toward the front here. I think I kind of regret the design I went with here though, where I made the stairs perpendicular to the wall, but the way that looks, just kind of pointing toward the next house like this, I don't think I really like it, to be honest. So I think I should have made it follow instead, and follow the wall, make it parallel, the way that these tiles are basically. It's kind of too late for that now, because at this point it is covered up, but you know, a few quirky things like that is fine. Sometimes things aren't built the way they're expected, or they're built like after the fact, or renovations are done, so don't be upset. I know it's not that great, just it's fine.
So don't go criticizing my building techniques.
Sorry. Not having everything perfectly designed is also part of realism sometimes. Well, of course, perfectly designed wouldn't be realism, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is trying to show a little bit more of the human element, the human failings, alongside the meticulous and perfectly futuristically engineered stuff here. So now as we continue detailing, we're looking more at adding plants now, mostly bushes. First I thought about adding this curb here. Thought it looked a little better than just having plants just kind of right up against the edge of the path, and then that paved area in between the houses. But we didn't really need it where the stairs are, so it's just 3 sides I figured was enough. And do the same thing on this side after moving the house, as I said before I was going to do. This part was a little tricky though, because we are, you know, we don't have a lot of space here, and the rock is kind of irregular. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do here. I thought about maybe just making a straight curb along roughly, just kind of roughly following the edge of the rock, and kind of like what you're seeing right now, and then just cover some of that up maybe with the bushes. But I didn't really like it. I thought it was better to just follow it exactly. It just looks more precise, I think, which is what we're going for. Although, realistically, since I know some of this will be tiny bushes, I did end up leaving some of the rock out, and I figured it wouldn't be much of a problem. So here we go. So I was going to make this fairly dense anyway. So a little bit of rock is fine, especially under all these leaves and stuff. It might just look like some rock just kind of broke off, spilled over, sand, things like that. Really, the big thing was just trying to pick the kind of plants that I would like here. Going for a little variety as usual. I got some small bushes, something a little bigger, and this kind of red-tipped, pink-tipped kind of bush. Hopefully you can see the name right there, but it's a really interesting bush. I don't think it's that good-looking by itself, but it's definitely a nice touch. You know, the color really livens up some of these areas. Just really something interesting to add around here. I thought it would work well right around here as well. It's pretty much the right size, but I didn't like the exposed rock, like the plant just growing out of the exposed rock. So I looked for a decal that's more like gravel or dirt or whatever. I'm not too sure what this is. Although it was a little tricky because, first of all, I did the opposite of what I usually do. Usually I bring down the top of the quote-unquote cube of this decal to lower its effective range. Here I need to do the opposite. Here I need to make sure that the effective range is actually tall enough so that it captures the whole slope of the rock. However, I was getting some weird glitching at some points like this, and not only was I sometimes getting it on the wall, but I was getting this jaggedy edge sometimes. Not really sure why that was. Maybe it's just because, you know, the edges of the decals weren't perfectly lined up with the edge with the wall, like not parallel to it. But I finally managed to work it out, but it did take a pretty long time, as you might have guessed by looking at that. Then just add a few more bushes and something a little more flowery for the top level, which is more like the little patios. So these are the ornamental pear. I'm not sure if they're all are the ornamental pear trees, but at least the big one over there on the left definitely was. And then go back to that tall tree, you know, another tall tree to just kind of put in there in the random little small gap we had. Back to the front, we're getting these bushes here. I considered, do I want something really bright and showy? Not really. I thought a more muted color would work best, so that's what these are. And just leave it really dense, just kind of fill it up like that. That would be pretty cool. Now there is some more detailing to do in this area, particularly toward the front, like potentially on the other side of the path, like across the road. But we still hadn't finished plopping down houses all around here, so that's what we're doing here. Added 3 more, and these would be closer together, but I didn't take them all the way to the end because remember that we're trying to follow the overall slope of the mountain, so it's not meant to be a vertical stack of houses here. We need to follow the slope, so we're only going to put 3. That's about it. And we're pretty much done here for today. There's definitely detailing left to do, but there's also detailing left to do at the first level, which you're seeing a little bit right here, which is something that I did off stream. I added that wall just to cover up the exposed rock in this area and add a surface on the top that we can detail later, you know, add some bushes or something there. And this triangle part at the stairs, I decided I didn't really like the sharp tip in the center, so I just kind of shaved that down and made it a little more interesting. And this is where we're leaving it for today. There's definitely detailing to do, as I said, but I'm just going to have to leave that for later because it's a good amount to do. I don't really want to rush through it, particularly what we're doing at the first level. Basically, I'll tell you right now, we are detailing a fully complete, lived-in looking backyard to the most exposed house of the complex, which is on the lower right there. It's kind of funny that I'm trying to really emphasize the word detailing on what's going to be in the next video because it really is what I think would normally be considered detailing, right? Where you're adding these tiny little props and bushes and tables and chairs and stuff to really make it look like people are living here. Of course, the whole city technically is detailed. Everything's like manually done and using procedural objects and all of that. But you get what I mean. So your typical detailing, that's exactly what the next episode is going to be. Completely is going to be all detailing. So please tune in for that next time. I do hope you enjoyed this video and it was worth giving us a few minutes of your day. So if you like it, please subscribe if you want to see more, and do tune into the stream. It is Fridays and Saturdays, noon GMT. Check the schedule below to make sure. And wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.